My name's Mike, I'm 38 and I manage construction jobs in Columbus, Ohio. Life's been good, you know. I've always been a meticulous planner, just like how I approach my projects. My wife Emily, she's 36 and teaches a bunch of wild first graders. She's always been the type to light up a room with her smile. We've got 2 awesome kids, a super smart dog, and a house straight out of a cheesy family sitcom. And that's me. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't mess around. They say I'm a straight shooter. Loyalty has always been my thing. I don't forgive easily and betrayal is a big deal to me. It's like a building that's been torn down, can't be fixed. But let's go back a bit. It's been 11 years since I asked Emily to marry me under the stars at Columbus Park of Roses. She was crying and I knew I had everything in my hands. Man, love back then was the real deal. No doubts, just knew it was gonna last forever, like until the end of time. But now, let's fast forward to today, or actually just a few days ago. Christmas is almost here and I'm rummaging through the attic for decorations. It's a total mess up there, covered in dust and filled with boxes we haven't touched in years. That's when I stumbled upon an old flip phone hidden away in a box labeled Memory 28. Kinda funny, I don't remember us keeping old phones as mementos. I've always been curious, so of course I had to check it out. Yo, check it out, let's see if this old artifact still works. I found the ancient charger, plugged it in, and bam, the screen lights up. It feels like bringing back a piece of history, and man, the past has some stories to tell. I was not ready for the messages that shook up my world. Hey guys, sadly, most of you watching ain't even subscribed. It would mean a lot if you could take a quick break from full screen mode for 3 seconds and hit that subscribe button. It's free and easy, so why not give it a shot? You can unsubscribe anytime, sorry for bothering you. Thank you so much if you subscribed, but they're not for me or my family. There was this guy named Dan with little hearts next to his name. My brain starts doing the math before I can stop it. Emily never mentioned Dan 11 years ago. So there I am, sitting in the dust and the cold, each heartbeat feeling like a sledgehammer to my chest. I need to know more, but not like this, not with half-truths from a phone that should have stayed lost. I put the phone away. Hey buddy, go downstairs and put on a smile for the kids. Even though I may seem like a fun dad on the outside, deep down I'm actually a man on a mission, seeking the truth. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down at what could be the end of everything I know. But I'm not the type to just jump into things. I'm the one who plans out my moves carefully. So, I'm going to gather all the facts before confronting her. In my world, you don't make accusations without evidence. Don't knock down a building without knowing why it's gotta come down. I'll keep you in the loop. Hey, read it again, it's Mike. I wish this update was just about a misunderstanding with the phone, but life likes to throw curveballs that even major league pitchers would be jealous of. I found the old charger, and wouldn't you know it, the darn thing actually worked. The phone started up with that familiar old tune, and it felt like just another regular day. My heart was racing, that kind of adrenaline rush you get when you're standing on the edge. A high beam 10 stories up with no harness, that's when I saw it, a messaging app one didn't recognize lighting up with notifications from years ago. Reading those messages felt like watching a car crash in slow motion. They were from Emily to this guy Dan, and they were filled with words that hit me like a punch to the gut. I miss you, can't wait to see you, last night was a dream, each one felt like a betrayal, like another blow to my seemingly perfect life. The dates they mentioned matched up perfectly with a period in my life that I remember vividly. Man, I remember vividly when I was laid up 11 years ago after a nasty fall. I was messed up, couldn't even move, just staring at the ceiling for weeks. Emily was there, playing the role of the caring fiancé, bringing me food and meds. Or so I thought. Turns out, she was sneaking off to play house with some other dude while I was all doped up on painkillers. I was sitting on our bed, holding the phone, feeling like a ticking time bomb. My head was spinning with disbelief and anger, and that gut-wrenching feeling of being betrayed. Emily, the woman I thought I knew. My bed, my life, and my kids are all good, but then there's sneaky cack acting like she's in some trashy soap opera that she hates. I felt like storming downstairs to call her out on those love notes to Dan and see if she'd feel guilty, but that's not really my style. I'm not one to start drama without all the facts. I gotta have everything lined up before I drop the truth bomb on her. So, I'm playing the long game here. I'm keeping those notes tucked away for now. I keep hearing voices in my head, put the phone back in my toolbox. Emily's acting all normal like nothing's wrong, but little does she know I'm onto her. I'm gonna keep quiet for now, but every smile and kiss on the cheek feels fake. I need to dig deeper and get all the facts before I blow everything up. If I'm gonna bring the house down, I wanna know why. I'll keep you posted on what I find, so stay tuned. This is Mike, and I'm back with an update. Have you ever thought life could be as messy as the wires behind your TV? You're not the only one. These past few days have been like I'm in my own detective show, trying to piece together my own heartbreak like a clumsy cat. I started looking through our history, went down to the basement where we keep our old planners. Emily, being a teacher, always keeps records, so I found one from 11 years ago, dusted it off, and found a map. Okay, so get this, she always said she was working late, going on business trips, and attending team building weekends. I decided to do some digging and check the dates with our communications. And you know what? It was like solving a sad, pathetic puzzle. Then, I did some social media stalking and logged into an old Facebook account I hadn't touched in years. As I scrolled back, I found pictures of Emily with this guy Dan, always together at company events, always tagged together. Great job, team, I couldn't have done it without you, Dan, can you believe that? It was all right there in front of me, but I was too blind to see it. The more I found out, the more careful I got with documenting everything, taking screenshots, printing emails, saving receipts for dinners out that I thought were for work meetings. It felt like I was building a case for a trial, except I was the only juror and my mind was pretty much made up already. All this time, I was putting on a great show as the clueless husband, acting normal with goodnight kisses and asking about each other's day. But deep down, I knew something was off. It's killing me inside. Every time she smiled, it felt like a punch to the gut. But I couldn't come clean. I have to pretend for the sake of the kids. They shouldn't have to deal with this drama. Dan, this guy, it turns out he left Ohio a few years back and headed to California to work in tech. A whole new life. I even found his LinkedIn profile. Dude's good at making connections, both professionally and personally. A real smooth talker. So there you have it, Mike. It's like a showdown with the ghost of cheating past. The evidence is stacking up against me. What's left? Alright folks, it's time for the big face-off with Emily. This ain't just a showdown, it's gotta be the grand finale of a drama that's been dragging on for way too long. I gotta get everything just right, down to the last word, so when I finally confront Emily, I'll see the truth in her eyes, no doubt about it. I'll keep y'all in the loop once the show starts. Thanks for sticking around, it means a lot. Hey, it's Mike again. This saga just keeps on going, like one of those never-ending soap operas. I'm about to reach a big moment, and I've chosen to make it happen on our anniversary. It's kind of ironic, but it feels right. The day I asked her to be mine forever is the day I'll finally put all my cards on the table. You don't walk into a storm without being ready, so I've been keeping my heart safe for what's coming next. It's been like living in a fun house, seeing happy family reflections everywhere, but I am ready. You know, I know that some of those dreams are just fake, but the guilt of going through with it eats at me every day. It's there when I wake up and kiss Emily good morning, it's there when we're eating dinner and talking about the kids, and it's even there when I'm pretending to sleep next to her at night. I've been clenching my jaw so hard, I'm surprised I haven't broken any teeth. But here's the thing, I'm not going into this without a plan. I've got my questions ready and I've been rehearsing them in my head and in front of the bathroom mirror. The words feel heavy on my tongue, but I'm ready to say them when the moment comes. I'm planning to take her out for dinner to the same place where we got engaged. It's always been our special spot. I'll let the night go on, let her enjoy her favorite wine, and then I'll bring up her past. I'm not really interested, but something doesn't sit right, and once she sees I'm serious, I'll show her the evidence. I want to see her reaction. Check out her eyes to see how she's really feeling. Is there any guilt or remorse there? I need to see it raw and unfiltered. The conversation in my head goes in 100 different directions, but every time it ends, I walk away from the situation. So, that's the plan. Read it. Let's just say that getting emotionally ready is a constant struggle. Every morning, I have to swallow my bitterness, and every night, I have to have a few drinks to numb the anger. It's hard not to let the anger or pain seep through the cracks. Hey guys, just wanted to let you know that this act I'm putting on is only for now. I'll make sure to keep you all in the loop. You'll be the first to hear when things change or a new chapter begins. Oh, and Mike, check this out. It's been a while since my last update and I've got a story for you. Our anniversary night, I decided it would be the dramatic climax of our story. We went to our usual spot, that little Italian restaurant downtown where I had proposed years ago. Same table, same dim lighting that gives the room a golden glow, and the same old vibes. Yo, the waiter had this crooked grin on his face, like he knew something we didn't. It was supposed to be a romantic night, celebrating 10 years of marriage. Emily was all dressed up in her favorite outfit, looking stunning with her eyes shining like the ocean. And there I was, trying to fake a smile while a storm was brewing inside me. We ate in silence, she talked and I just nodded along. Each course felt like torture, getting us closer to a breaking point. Every bite felt like swallowing my anger, and the wine tasted like crap. Finally, we made it home. The babysitter was gone. The kids were already tucked in bed, and that's when I went from being a sweet hubby to a man with a mission. I didn't even give her a chance to get comfortable. No coffee, no comfy couch. I spread out the old phone messages and photos like playing cards on the table. At first, she laughed it off nervously, but I could tell it didn't really reach her eyes. She tried to pass it off as a joke, something silly from the past. But her voice was shaking like a leaf in a storm. Then I hit her with the hard evidence, the dates, the facts. I had her cornered. I put in a lot of effort to make her laugh, but suddenly her expression changed from pale to red. A moment of realization hit her like a ton of bricks, and then the floodgates opened. She burst into tears and started crying. I'm really sorry, but here's the deal, I told her. I didn't feel a thing. Those fake tears don't move me, and I can feel the ice creeping into my heart. When I told her it was over, my voice was cold as steel. She begged and pleaded, saying it was all a mistake, a thing of the past. But it was too little, too late. I made it clear that I was done and I was staying put. We're stuck in the guest room trying to figure out what to do with the house. The kids are like the broken parts of our life together. She cried herself to sleep on the couch and I stayed up staring at the ceiling of a room I could barely recognize. Things have calmed down a bit since the big reveal, but it's still chaotic. There's a lot of emotions and memories floating around, fragments of a life I thought I understood. I had a serious talk with Emily the next day. It wasn't a negotiation. I straight up told her I wanted a divorce, no second chances, no trying to patch things up. The trust was gone and I'm not the type to try and fix what's broken beyond repair. She cried, of course, said sorry 1,000 times or more. But I had made up my mind. The hardest part was telling the kids, man. I sat them down, looked at their confused little faces, and explained that even parents need some time apart. That we both love them more than anything. No matter where we crashed at night, the tears and questions never changed. I had to face some tough conversations and keep it together for everyone else. I organized a family meeting to break the news to my parents, sister, and a few close friends. The reactions were all over the place. Some were shocked that sweet Emily could do something like that, while others just gave me a hug and said they had my back. My dad, being the man of few words that he is, just squeezed my shoulder and gave me a nod that said I was doing the right thing, unlike Emily. Right now, my ex is looking for a new place to live. We decided that it's best for the kids to stay at home and keep things as normal as possible. We're figuring out how to co-parent, which is like walking a tightrope, but we're doing it for the children. The lawyers are involved now, sorting out all the legal stuff and dividing up the life I've built over the past 15 years. It's tough, cold, and necessary, like cutting out the damaged part of a building so the rest can survive. Yo, I ain't turning back, always been the type to look ahead, make decisions, and not waste time on what-ifs. I stick to my values of loyalty and honesty, so if you can't give me that, you won't get another shot. That's where I'm at. I'm a single dad going through a divorce, looking out for my kids. It's gonna be tough, but I never shy away from a challenge. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll update you when the next shoe drops. Hey Reddit, it's Mike checking in for what seems like the last episode of a drama I never signed up for. It's been a few weeks since I last spilled my guts online. I've gone through all the comments and taken all the advice, and I gotta say, it's helped. The kids and I are doing good, even better than good sometimes. We actually have real laughs in the house now. We've had our fair share of tough moments, but we're talking things out and handling our emotions together as a team. My kids are resilient and strong, they're little troopers. I found some peace in the chaos, the divorce is almost done and things are shaping up different than I thought. But everything seems good. I'm a full-time dad and I've never been more dedicated to anything in my life. I'm trying my hand at baking cookies, burning only half of them at soccer games. I'm the loudest cheerleader and we have a Friday movie night tradition where the kids pick the movie. I've seen enough animated films to last me a lifetime now. And yes, I'm starting to get back out there. Thinking about getting back out there for dating, not diving in headfirst but starting to think about finding a new wife, a new partner in crime. Someone who knows my kids will always come first and shares my values. I'm cautious, no doubt about it, but I'm also hopeful. Here's the thing, trust is key. Without it, you're on shaky ground. And truth, no matter how tough, is better than lies that eat away at everything like rust. It might not happen right away, but just wait and everything will fall apart. I've learned a lot about myself, what I can handle and what it really means to stick to your beliefs. I'm not the same person I was when I first started posting here. I'm a bit smarter, a bit stronger, and a lot more thankful for the genuine people out there. Thanks for being a part of my story, for the advice, tough love, and virtual support. Stay alert, stay strong, and never settle for less than you deserve. Mick is logging off now. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you could hit that subscribe button, it would seriously mean the world to me. Shout out to all my loyal viewers, hope you all have a great day or night. It really sucks to find out you've been lied to, especially when it's by someone you thought was your friend for a decade. I'm a 37-year-old guy, been married to my wife for 10 years. We're both working in the IT industry and don't have any kids. But hey, we've been happily married for a whole decade now. But lately, my wife has been acting weird. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid, but as time went on, it was impossible to ignore. We work at different companies, but our offices are in the same building. We used to have lunch together all the time, with our coworkers joining us occasionally. About 6 months ago, my wife suddenly stopped joining me for lunch. She said it was because she was busy with work or had some last-minute meeting with her boss. I tried to brush it off at first, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. She had good reasons for coming home late, and it was always because we were both working hard. I started to notice how much work she had to do, and my suspicions were confirmed when I caught her texting at the dinner table one night. I took her phone away and told her we don't use phones during dinner. She got scared and tried to grab it back. This had never happened before in our relationship. We always thought sharing passcodes was unnecessary. To build trust, if we really trust each other, we shouldn't have to constantly check up on each other. Up until that day, I never felt the need to snoop through her phone. She said she was just texting her sister because she had a tough day at work. I told her I understood and we carried on eating without speaking. But then she did something that made me feel terrible. I didn't need to be so scared, it was just her sister after all. But I couldn't just tell her that, because I knew she'd come up with another excuse. Man, I was so worried last night as she dozed off. I couldn't help but wonder if she's been keeping something from me all this time. We've always had each other's backs, but now she's acting all weird. Hey guys, it's been a rough time lately. It's like nobody who watches these videos is even subscribed. It would seriously mean a lot to me if you could just take a quick break from full screen mode for like 3 seconds and hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe later. Sorry for the interruption, and thanks a bunch if you do. You know, I thought I'd talk to her in the morning instead of making decisions on my own. When I woke up the next day, my wife wasn't in bed with me. The bathroom was empty too, which was weird because she never wakes up before me. I checked the kitchen and the garden, but she was nowhere to be found. I started getting worried and called her, but she didn't pick up. Just as I was about to go out and look for her, she came back with red cheeks from the cold. I was wondering where she had gone. So, this morning, my wife woke me up saying she couldn't sleep and went for a walk in the park by our place. She gave me a kiss and then went inside to make us some coffee. Just as we were about to go in, I heard a car starting nearby and it was pretty loud. That's not a usual sound in our neighborhood. As the engine revved up, I saw my wife getting all worked up, but she quickly hid it. When I got in my car to head to work, all I could think about was my wife. I had no clue what was going on. My buddy John was involved somehow. Hey, so I was walking by John's place and saw him leaving with his kid. The little one was holding onto him like a monkey, and when I waved, he waved back. I was just about to head out, but I ended up stopping to chat with him for a bit. It's been ages since we caught up. When I asked him what's new, he dropped a bombshell. Turns out he takes his son to the park every night, but it's closed for maintenance now. My wife mentioned she went for a stroll there in the morning and saw something fishy. Looks like she's been keeping secrets from me. Time to go have a chat with her. Instead of going to work, I decided to snoop around at home to see what my wife was hiding from me. I looked through her closet hoping to find some answers, but there was nothing there. To say I was frustrated would be an understatement. I noticed my wife's laptop was still on the table, so I decided to check her email. Unfortunately, there was nothing incriminating there either. I searched through a few more things, but came up empty-handed. Just as I was about to give up, I stumbled upon something huge. Turns out, my wife had received an email in her work inbox. I didn't bother checking the content, but it was definitely a shocker. I checked my work email thinking there'd be nothing, but I found an email my wife got asking her to meet at a cafe near her office. The email didn't have a name, just a random username, and it only had the location and time. It seemed really shady to me. Why would my wife meet this person? Why did she lie to me in the morning? I have so many questions and no one to answer them. We've been married for 10 years and I thought we were happy together. I could have asked my wife, but why would she tell me the truth after lying to me in the morning? Her actions made me doubt her, and I couldn't shake it until I figured out what was going on. I decided to stay quiet and wait until the evening to see if she was telling me the truth about meeting someone or if she was just feeding me more lies. I didn't have to wait long. She called me in the evening and said she needed to work late. Man, my wife really had me feeling some type of way today. She told me she had an office meeting with her boss, but I couldn't shake this gut feeling that something wasn't right. This was the second lie she had told me today. When did our marriage get to the point where we're lying to each other? I made up my mind to follow her and see who she was meeting up with. I got to her office just in time to see her drive off in her car. My heart was pounding in my chest as I quietly tailed her car through the city. She ended up at the location mentioned in the email, and I followed her without her knowing. The cafe lights were shining on the pavement, creating a cozy vibe. I parked my car in the shadows to hide it. I saw her walk into the cafe with a smile on her face, and my stomach dropped when she hugged a man who stood up to greet her. I was in shock when another man hugged my wife. I started thinking, how long has she been lying to me? I remembered all the times she told me she was happy with me while I held her in my arms. Was it all a lie? I could have gone inside and demanded an explanation, but I decided not to. I thought it was best to just walk away. Just let her keep pretending. I wanted to see how many more lies she could come up with while lying right next to me in bed. I followed her home, waited outside her house until she got there. When she finally saw me, she greeted me with a smile like it was no big deal to come home after lying to her husband. I just wanted to know why she was lying to me. I wanted her to look me in the eyes and tell me it was all nothing. I wanted her to ease the betrayal thoughts that were racing through my mind, but I couldn't trust her because I knew she wouldn't tell me the truth. So I kept an eye on her. I followed her when she went out to lunch with some guy and she fed me lies about her busy work schedule for the next week. I watched her meet this guy and they had a meal together, then they hugged before parting ways. I don't know what to make of this. Why would she lie to me if she didn't do anything wrong? I didn't have to wonder for long because one afternoon she told me she was stuck. So, I was in this meeting and saw my wife heading to a fancy hotel across town. I followed her, thinking she was just grabbing lunch with a guy. But then my heart shattered when I saw them holding hands and going into a room together. I couldn't hold back anymore, so I knocked on the door. This shirtless dude opened it, and there was my wife in bed, waiting for him. Her smile disappeared when she saw me on the other side. It felt like my whole world came crashing down. You know, I was so upset that I didn't say anything to them, so I just left the hotel and went home. I plopped down on the couch in the living room and my mind was racing. I was feeling a bunch of emotions all at once: anger, heartbreak, and confusion. I couldn't even tell you how long I sat there before my wife walked in through the front door. She looked really worried, but I just calmly told her she didn't have to keep lying to me. I was too tired to deal with any more of her deceit. She came and sat next to me. I didn't think she'd spill the beans. I was just about to stand up when she whispered, "I'm sorry." I asked her how long this had been going on, not really sure if I wanted to hear the answer but needing to know. She said it all started 8 months ago when she went out of town for a work conference. She met this dude who used to work in the same branch of their company. We were just friends at first, she said, voice trembling. I asked her to keep going, even though I knew my heart wouldn't be able to handle what she was about to say. So, she was like, they ended up getting wasted on the last day of the conference and, one thing led to another and they ended up in bed together. She felt super guilty the next morning and swore it would never happen again since they were both married. She went back home and cut off contact with him, but then he got transferred here 6 months ago and they started working together. And, well, they couldn't resist each other and started up the affair again. She said it all started because she was craving something new, She told me how she sneaked around and lied to me, completely betraying my trust. She said she went to the park that morning, but she actually went to meet another guy and he even gave her a ride in his car. I was crushed. I thought I knew my wife, but turns out she's been living a double life this whole time. My marriage was built on a lie and now it's falling apart. I spent the day feeling a mix of emotions, unable to think clearly. I asked my wife to give me some space, so we just lived in the same house without speaking to each other. I was lost. Should I try to save our marriage or just call it quits after my wife cheated on me? She keeps saying sorry and asking for forgiveness, saying she ended things with the other person and wants to go to counseling. But I feel like the hurt runs too deep. Even though her betrayal crushed me, I thought maybe we could work things out if we went to counseling together. But no matter how many sessions we went through, I couldn't shake the image of that day in the hotel room from my mind. Who knows how many times they met up. So I was chilling at a hotel, waiting for my girl to come back home. Our therapist was all like, "Yo, you guys gotta talk it out and communicate," but I was still feeling mad, hurt and betrayed by her. Like, she completely shattered my trust, Therapy didn't do squat to ease my pain, it was just too damn raw. So I made the tough call to bounce from this messed up situation. We had a sit down and I straight up told her I couldn't be with her no more. She was crying and all, but she had to deal with the consequences of her actions. I couldn't protect her from the consequences of her actions. She told me she was moving out of the house, and I didn't try to stop her because I knew it was for the best for her to be away. I sat in the yard as she said goodbye, watching the movers take her stuff. I watched my 10-year marriage come to an end right before my eyes. She left it up to me to decide when to file for divorce after she left. I spent my days feeling numb and overwhelmed by emotions, constantly wondering if this was all my fault. Maybe I could have done something to stop her from leaving. I kept going to therapy even after my marriage fell apart. I just wanted to ease the ache in my heart. It took a while, but the sessions helped me realize it wasn't all my fault. My therapist recommended trying out new hobbies. At first, I didn't have the energy, but with a little nudge, I started getting into new things. I started picking up old interests I had put on hold while dealing with my marriage. Marriage was tough, but it felt good to start fresh. The pain started to fade over time and we decided to get a divorce together. She apologized for hurting me and said she was willing to wait for forgiveness. "I hope we can be friends again," she said. I told her maybe we could be friends eventually. We both started exploring ourselves and navigating our way through divorce and separation, trying to find our path to healing. It's weird being alone after 11 years. After getting divorced, being in the house by myself felt weird. It was strange not having any plans with anyone. I started taking care of myself, both emotionally and physically. I reconnected with some old friends, but I never had the heart to tell them about my ex-wife cheating on me. I didn't want to make her look bad. I still felt loyal to her, even though we got divorced and went our separate ways. It was clear to me that we could never be together again. I didn't want to. I don't think I could be with anyone else after all that. I didn't just spend 10 years in a marriage, I put my heart and soul into it while my wife was out looking for excitement. I was thinking about our future, but now my trust is shattered and I'm too hurt to open up to love again. I hope everyone who hears my story learns how important trust is in any relationship. Just one lie can destroy even the strongest bond. And then, 6 months later, I bumped into my wife at the grocery store, of all places. We ended up running into each other while grabbing hot chocolate in the same aisle. Seeing her after all this time didn't bug me as much as it did at first. The therapy sessions were actually worth it. I was thinking to myself, we're divorced now and you're finally drinking hot chocolate. I joked with her that I loved hot chocolate, but she never did. It made me think of you. She smiled back at me, hinting that she missed our married life. I smiled back and we parted ways. Want to do it together? She asked nervously. I was about to say no, but I was curious if I could handle being around her without. My chest was hurting, but I just smiled and said, sure. We went to a nearby cafe this time, with her following my car. We ordered 2 hot chocolates and casually chatted. Surprisingly, it felt kinda nice talking to her without feeling angry or hurt. She broke every promise we made to each other, and my trust in her is totally wrecked. But I wasn't gonna let that define me forever. I think I've forgiven her in my heart, but forgiving her doesn't mean I'm gonna trust her again. That ship has sailed. She went to bed with someone else. Man, I can't shake this fear of being betrayed again. It's gonna take some time to get over it. I've been just taking it day by day. My counselor gave me a suggestion that actually helped. I'm just hoping that eventually I can let go of that dread completely. Anyway, here's the next story. Our son Harold started school 8 months ago, leaving Sabrina and me as empty nesters at only 45. We were thrilled when he got a scholarship to Oxford University. Now that we're empty nesters, we're rekindling our romance and enjoying some quality time together. Starting a new chapter in our lives without kids, I thought our marriage would get better and we could go back to our fun activities. But my wife seemed sad for the first 2 months after our son left home. And when she turned 46, she noticed some wrinkles and gained a few pounds. I thought she still looked great, but she saw them as signs that life was changing. As I walked past her, I realized that the exciting and adventurous days were over. After doing some research, I found out that she was feeling the same way. So, I decided to give her constant support, lots of compliments, and plenty of time to get used to our changing family situation. It took a few months, but on Friday night she came back from work looking happy and peaceful, just like when we first got married 20 years ago. She was beaming with joy, like a whole new person. We spent the weekend cuddled up together, making up for all the lost time. After years of doing pointless tasks, I woke up one morning to find Sabrina snuggled up next to me, looking happy as can be. Good morning, she greeted me with a smile. Last night was incredible, one of her sparkles, and I want more of it. I just replied, I love you, darling, as I held her close. For the first time in years, I felt like our marriage was back on track, ready to take on the next chapter of our journey together. 3 months later, our lives were thriving, financially stable with fulfilling jobs. Harold is. We've been doing so well in school, and our marriage has been going really great for the past 3 months. We've gotten even closer than ever before. Every time we have alone together is really special. Friday nights have become our favorite date nights, with movies, restaurants, and rushing home to be with each other. We've been making an effort to have a fun and exciting life outside of our home, kind of like a throwback to our younger days. And on this particular Friday evening, she actually proposed to me. We decided to grab a drink after dinner, and she gave me a playful touch on my leg and a cheeky grin, hinting at a fun night ahead. She had heard about a cool new club called The Hideaway from her coworkers, only a 10-minute drive away. The club ended up being a gorgeous spot with awesome live jazz music. We had a few drinks at the bar, and Sabrina's friendly and flirty attitude made the night even more enjoyable. Her lively energy was infectious, and I couldn't wait for the moments we would share later in the night. So, I'm on my 3rd martini, chilling during the band's break, when out of nowhere this random guy comes up to us and starts calling out Sabrina's name like they're old pals. I was totally caught off guard watching my wife go from relaxed to tense real quick. She quickly introduced us before he could say anything else, like, "Hey, Matilda, good to see you." Sabrina gave him a big smile and even hugged him. "Oh, this is my husband, Stephen," she said. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy and suspicion that something fishy was going on. Even though I was pretty drunk, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Man, it's crazy how things are lining up for Sabrina lately. First, she's all happy and stuff, then she finds this cool new bar. And then she's all sweet and affectionate out of nowhere. And now, we run into this guy at the same bar she wanted to go to, even though there was no real reason to. I'm starting to get suspicious, like something's not right. Nathan, the guy we met, seemed like he was in his early 40s, friendly, and had a deep voice like Barry White. But as we chatted over drinks, my worries started to disappear. I'm starting to think maybe he's not as sketchy as I thought. It was just a lucky coincidence, but things took a turn when we sat down for 20 minutes and listened to the jazz band's music. Nathan boldly asked if he could dance with my wife. Before I could respond, Sabrina got up and took him to the dance floor, leaving me sitting there feeling mad. I knew it was a setup, but I decided to stick around and watch them dance, even though I was getting more and more uncomfortable with every graceful move and whispered comment between them. Sabrina was getting too close for comfort. Man, when I saw Nathan with his arm around my wife and her head on his shoulder, it really ticked me off. Alarm bells were going off in my head, warning me of trouble ahead. When they came back, Nathan acted like it was no big deal to be dancing with my wife. He even complimented her on her work and asked about my hobbies. Sabrina was talking fast, like she had rehearsed it. And then Stephen went off about football, saying he's a die-hard Manchester United fan. She was so pumped, not a single game gets by him. Hey mate, the telly's saying that Nathan reckons we gotta make sure we're watching the playoff game tomorrow. Me and Winston never miss a game and will be down at the pub celebrating if Trump triumphs over Liverpool. Stephen told me today's your lucky day. I just happened to have 2 tickets to the game that were given to me by one of my suppliers. Even though I'm not a big fan of football, I was gonna give them away, but Nathan showed me these top-notch Tier 1 center field seats and I couldn't resist. I got what he was really trying to say with his gesture. He was like a sneaky snake tempting Eve with the forbidden fruit. I acted like I didn't care, hiding my annoyance. Fancy tickets, huh? Why don't you go see the game for yourself? Not really my thing, buddy. But I insist you take them, especially since you're Sabrina's husband. It would be a privilege. Nathan's comments lit a fire of anger inside me. I took the tickets, but I was seething with rage. If he called me old chap or old guy again, I might lose it. I totally lost it when I was like, thanks Nathan for being so generous. I know Sabrina and I will kill it in the game, but deep down I was ready for what I knew was coming. When my wife was like, honey, I really don't like going to those games. You should go with Winston, you'll have more fun together. Don't stress about me, I've got plenty to keep me occupied. So yeah, it's decided. Are you gonna go with Winston tomorrow? She said it all confidently. At that point, I couldn't really tell how close they were. Whether she already hooked up with him or was considering cheating on our marriage, it was obvious she wanted him even though she underestimated my determination and intelligence. I chose to just sit back and watch things play out, using my gut feeling, observations from the dance floor, and a little bit of spying at the bar. I decided to see how things went while planning my next move. There was no way I was going to tell my wife, no matter how tempting it was with playoff tickets or other financial rewards if she was interested. If she wanted to find someone else to hang out with, that's fine by me. But I wasn't about to get involved in that drama. And trust me, there will be consequences for her decision. Nathan came off as classy, charming, and super attractive to women in their 40s. But when he started chasing after a married woman, he crossed the line. Nathan was like the ultimate creep, enjoying the thrill of going after married women and making their partners feel like total nobodies. It was all about feeding his own ego and feeling like he was in control. I could tell he was up to no good. Even though we were having a good time with drinks and hanging out with Nathan at the pub, Sabrina didn't realize how quiet I was when we left. Winston and I still went to the playoff game like we planned, but I was no fool. Before I left, I strategically placed voice-activated recorders all over her house and activated them using the Find Me app on her phone while she was in the shower. I figured they'd have enough time to catch something while I was gone. I was expecting either a secret meeting or a conversation about what happened before. I was surprised when she stayed home instead of going out to the pub that night. I didn't find anything suspicious in the recordings, but I still had my doubts and was on edge about what she might have. When I got back from the game, Sabrina was all dolled up and had made a tasty dinner for me. After we greeted each other warmly, she took me to the kitchen. "How was the game, babe? Did our team win?" she asked. "Yep, Manchester won 1-0, I replied. "You must be thrilled to have watched it." "Man, that game was awesome with those amazing seats." Nathan's gesture was so sweet. She said yes, that was really nice of him. "And those seats were amazing," I agreed. Sabrina seemed happy, her smile was shining all night. But I was starting to get annoyed because Nathan's talks kept coming up all the time, at work or during dinner. She was always praising his success, his fancy house by the lake, his trips around the world, and his supposed charming personality. I was getting fed up. But then one night she came home all excited and started showering me with even more compliments. That was a really nice greeting with more affection than usual. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "You won't believe it, but do you remember how I always talked about that show, La Travata?" Sabrina said excitedly. "Yes, I remember." "Why do you ask?" I replied. "She told me there's a performance this Friday at the Royal Opera House." "Sabrina, you know I can't stand opera. Are you sure you want to go?" I asked. "Yes, I really do, but you don't have to come with me." "That's great news. I had lunch with Nathan today and So, this guy got amazing opera tickets from someone else, just like the ones he was trying to sell you for the football game. When he found out I've always wanted to see La Traviata, he happily gave them to me. He was disappointed when I told him you hate opera and won't go, but then he suggested taking me to the opera and out for a nice dinner afterwards. Wasn't that nice of him?" Sabrina was all like, "So considerate, what a gentleman," and I sarcastically replied, "Oh yeah, real thoughtful." "Wait, so you turned down his offer before even considering it? Why would you do that? I get that you don't want to go, but it's not a big deal. You don't mind if I go with Nathan, right?" Sabrina thinks it's a big deal, but the real issue is that you shouldn't be going on a date with another guy, whether I'm there or not. That's not how a wife should act. I can't believe you would even think about going on a date. I made it clear that I knew the whole thing was staged, but I didn't see it that way. "Hey, sorry for the confusion. You know Mason, right? He's our buddy who gave you those awesome playoff tickets. We had a great time, he always buys us drinks, and he's a great coworker." Anna was smiling when she said she wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and see where things go. "She's done all that and Mason seems like a good guy, but I'm not comfortable with my wife hanging out with another man. I'd prefer if you didn't. Don't go and do anything stupid. You're a grown-ass adult who can make your own choices, but you know how I feel about it." I made it clear that I was annoyed and uneasy, and she must have picked up on my anxiety. "All right, babe, I get it. I didn't mean to upset you, and I'll drop it now." "Sorry if I hurt your feelings," she said, trying to ease the tension. "My feelings are still the same," I replied. "I'm worried about the integrity of our marriage." She came over and kissed my forehead, saying, "Don't stress, you silly goose. I love you and that's all that matters. Girl, I swear she better not be trying to steal my man." She told me she would drop it, but I can't stop feeling some type of way about how close they were getting. I faked a headache that night because I just couldn't handle it. I'm still mad and hurt from our conversation, and she's not even acknowledging my feelings. I wasn't sure if they hooked up, but it was obvious she was getting cozy with him. I knew things would get messy if I didn't step in before they crossed a line. Before we hit that breaking point in our marriage, things were getting shaky with Nathan. I could see that things were getting worse with him, especially with him always chatting with her. It made me jealous, so I told her to stop meeting him for lunch. She didn't want to and said she had the right to be friends with him. I refused to give her the opera tickets, like she asked, but she said I was overreacting. She made it clear that she wasn't going to stop being friends with him, even if it meant having lunch with him sometimes. She argued that I needed to be more understanding. Despite being angry, I realized I needed to handle the situation delicately. Without making things worse, our guys' chat quickly went from lunch to post-work drinks. When I asked her about a possible affair, she denied it fiercely, saying she just enjoyed hanging out with him. "So you're not into Nathan, don't lie to me, Sabrina. I've noticed every girl in the office is into him, but I'm loyal to you and haven't crossed any lines," she replied. But are you tempted? I pushed. Which girl wouldn't be? He's totally hot and his voice is captivating, though. Don't worry, she told me everything is fine and there's nothing to stress about. How would you feel if I went out for lunch and drinks with a girl I fancy? I don't think you'd be cool with it, I said. The argument really messed up our relationship, and I was distant for a few days. Sabrina flipped out just thinking about me being with another girl, saying it's not gonna happen. She even threatened to chop off my balls if I cheated, which seemed crazy and typical of her. I was so worried that our marriage was on the rocks. Then one night, she came home 3 hours late without even a call. I was filled with dread and fear. She waltzed in like nothing was wrong, trying to kiss me like everything was peachy. But I yanked her away, giving her a cold, hard stare as I accused her of spending the night with her friend. She heard a tone from me that she's never heard before, and she quickly said sorry, blaming a dead phone and losing track of time. But when I kept asking if she had been with Nathan, her silence said it all. I was pissed, making it clear that our marriage was in trouble if this kind of behavior continued. If I find out you cheated on me with him, we're over. I won't put up with cheating or lying. I warned her about how serious the situation was, and it was a heavy burden on us. Her promise to be faithful upset me, and she. So, Sabrina said sorry and promised to stop hanging out with Nathan. It was the first time she actually seemed to get how serious I was. She stopped talking about him and how amazing he is, but she still kept meeting up with him for lunch and drinks behind my back. The only thing that changed was she stopped telling me about it. 2 weeks later, I finally brought it up and asked if she had actually stopped seeing Nathan. She just leaned in, gave me a reassuring smile, and stroked my arm. In a sympathetic way, she confessed that she was still hanging out with him but chose not to tell me to spare my feelings. To my surprise, she didn't seem to realize how angry and hurt I was after hearing her confession. But it was her next words that really set me off. She asked me to be okay with it, saying that Nathan was just a friend and he asked her to go to his work dinner because his original date flaked last minute. Like, seriously. Steven asked me to be with him in a moment of need, and since we're good pals, I said yes. But then he said you'd be cool with it. I shook my head in disbelief and said, no way, I'm not okay with that at all. You can't go with him, Sabrina. You're still my wife, for now at least. Steven, please stop being so jealous and crazy. He's just a friend who needs my help. I'm going, and you'll just have to trust me. I promise everything will be fine. She replied, you old fool, this man's got some serious influence. Her attitude started to affect her. Now she's calling me old fool Sabrina. If you leave, I'm telling you, things won't be okay between us. I can't force you to stay, but the answer is no, you can't go. I said it firmly. Of course, we slept in separate beds that night and didn't really talk for a week. I was too angry and sad about Nathan. But credit to her, she seemed to get where I was coming from and stopped bugging me about him. So, get this, the day after Sabrina spilled the beans, Nathan hits me up out of the blue while I'm at work. Turns out Sabrina had slipped him my digits hoping he could talk me into changing my mind. I made a mental note to call her out on this breach of trust later that night. Hey, Steven, how's it going, mate? Nathan greeted me casually. Nathan, what's up? What made you call? I asked, curious about what he was up to. I'm calling to say sorry. I'm guessing Sabrina told you I wanted her to come with me. So, I messed up by bringing her to the work event. I'm sorry if it caused any drama at home. She wasn't supposed to be there, but I told her how I felt. She did say something, though. Looking back, I should have talked to you about it first. Nathan agreed. I was just shocked by this guy's arrogance as he talked. I was so mad at that old guy chasing me down. Let me make it up to you, just tell me what you want and I'll sort it out. Maybe some season tickets to the manor would work for you, he said smoothly. Nathan, are you seriously suggesting I trade my wife for football tickets? Are you trying to treat my wife like some kind of trading chip for goods? Do you really think so little of her? I could feel my anger rising. Let me be very clear, I don't share my wife with anyone. And if you even think about calling me old man or... Listen here, buddy. Next time we see each other, I swear I'll rip your tongue out. I can buy my own tickets, so let's stop this chat right now. You need to back off, Sabrina, and find someone else to hang with. But he just kept talking like he didn't hear me. Steven, buddy, I'm sorry you're upset. I really like Sabrina and wanted to ask your permission to bring her to my event. Don't be mad, okay? Hey Nathan, listen up. I'm the one calling the shots here, and I've decided that Sabrina will not be my date for the evening. So stop bugging me about it. And also, I need you to stop hanging out with her for lunch and drinks after work. It's messing with our marriage, and I'm sure you get how serious this is. Sorry Steven, but Sabrina and I are just friends. I'm not ending our friendship. Hey, I'm sorry your insecurities are stopping you from letting me do this one thing. I've done a lot for you, like giving you football and concert tickets, and you just seem ungrateful, he said. I've already thanked you for the tickets and I can buy my own. So just leave us alone and stop interfering in my marriage, I snapped, slamming down the office phone in frustration. When I got home that evening, Sabrina looked sad. She must have heard about the argument and didn't know what to do. She couldn't stand the awkward silence anymore and finally said something. I heard you talking to Nathan today, did you really have to be so rude? You hurt his feelings. The look I gave her when she mentioned Nathan's feelings could have frozen our pond in the middle of summer. Screw you, screw his feelings, I snapped. Isn't it funny how you care about his feelings but not your husband's? Why the hell did you give him my work phone number? Do you really need to be with him? Maybe I should just leave so you can hang out with your new boyfriend. She looked away and muttered, I was hoping you two could get along so we could all hang out together. I'm sorry it turned out like this, I never meant for anyone to get hurt. Are you crazy, lady? I want nothing to do with him and I already told him to stop taking you out for lunch and drinks. In case you forgot, you're married and need to start acting like it, or this is going to end badly. Mark my words, it's gonna be a disaster, I snapped back harshly. Her frustration exploded and she shot back, stop acting like a jealous teenager. We've been married for 20 years and nothing's gonna happen. I hope you're right, I replied calmly, but my words were dripping with bitterness. I couldn't bear the thought of wasting the last 20 years with the wrong woman. My statement seemed to hit her hard, and I hoped it would make her see sense. We didn't talk for the rest of the night. In fact, I ended up sleeping in her son's room, consumed by anger. Sabrina was pissed off that I wanted to sleep alone. She tried to make things right by saying she stopped meeting up with Nathan for lunch and was trying to be more loving. I eventually went back to our bed, but I wasn't gonna get it on with a woman who obviously had a thing for another guy. She wasn't happy about it and kept trying to get close, but I had a feeling she was still seeing Nathan. My gut told me I had to be careful if I wanted to save my marriage. And, sure enough, my suspicions were confirmed when I stumbled upon Nathan's event date while casually scrolling through my wife's texts. We never used passcodes on our phones before, and I never felt the need to snoop, but finding out made me upset because I knew things were about to change between us. However, this new insight helped me figure out my next moves. It wasn't shocking when Sabrina started professing her love recently. I thought she was trying to be the perfect wife, but it was all just a trick to distract me from Nathan's situation. Turns out, she was planning to spring on me that she'd be going to the event with Nathan next Thursday. So, I got an idea. I wanted to see if she'd stay loyal even if I told her she couldn't see him. The next morning at breakfast, I casually dropped that I had a meeting in London on the 22nd and wouldn't be back. I waited until the next evening, knowing Nathan's thing was happening at the same time. I gave her a choice, either lie and go to the event, or be honest and tell me the truth about her plans. Either way, I had already decided I wasn't going to stick around. If she admitted she was going to the party, I would leave and file for divorce. If she showed up without telling me, it would be over between us. Unfortunately, Sabrina decided to stay quiet and keep her intentions hidden. She kept on deceiving me by pretending. I came home every night to a perfect wife, she cooked delicious meals, kept the house clean, and greeted me with warm kisses. But she never mentioned Nathan or the upcoming event. When I kissed her goodbye on Thursday morning, I had a feeling it would be the last time. So, with a heavy heart, I left for work. My goal was never to go to London, but to stay at the same hotel where the event was happening. I used this time to get legal advice and start the process of getting divorce papers ready. I suggested a likely date to deliver the papers and even said I'd pay the process server extra to come with me to the hotel event and hand them over if Sabrina did what I wanted. If she did, our marriage would be over. Nathan dressed casually for his dinner plans, wearing a face mask, sunglasses, and a hat at 8 p.m. I was chillin' in the lobby, reading the paper and peepin' the front doors when Nathan strolled in with my wife on his arm. She was rockin' a little black dress, dark stockings, and killer heels, showin' off her banging bod. They were all smiles and hellos, lookin' like a happy couple. Even though I knew they were coming, I wasn't ready to see them all cozy up close. I was fuming, but I kept my cool and slyly recorded the whole thing on my phone as proof. Later on, I'll have to talk to my kid about the divorce while I was watching Sabrina and Nathan. I called her, but she ignored my call and focused on Nathan instead. It felt like my heart was being ripped out as I saw how little she cared about my call, choosing to spend time with him instead of working on our relationship. I held back tears and left multiple voicemails, desperately trying to salvage what was left of our relationship. Hey baby, it's 8 p.m. Hey, everything good since you didn't pick up the phone? I really miss you and love you. I kept begging in my messages, hoping she would actually listen. I was feeling embarrassed and hoping she would leave the party before things got crazy. I was still holding out hope that she might leave or call me to end our marriage. But that night, she didn't even bother listening to my messages. I hung around the dining area, keeping my distance and watching them. It was obvious that their connection was stronger than Sabrina had let on. They were acting like they were more than just friends. During dinner, I was watching this couple closely. By 10 p.m., they had danced a few times and had some private moments. It was obvious they were leaving the dinner party, knowing the room number from their texts and with the help of the generous tip I gave the bellman. I knew they were heading to room 1246. Susan, the process server, arrived right on time at 10 p.m. So, we were talking about my plans and I decided to give her an extra £200 for her help. Then, Susan and I hopped on the elevator around 11 p.m. and went to room 1246. Susan knocked on the door and we could hear some movement inside. I positioned myself to the side as a deep voice asked from inside, "Who is it?" Susan showed her ID to the people and said she was security, asking them to open the door. Even though he probably didn't really check the ID, it worked and we heard the lock click. The door creaked open and we saw Nathan's face. I quickly stepped inside. So, I was in front of Susan, right? And I kicked the door open, making Nathan stumble back and fall naked and confused on the floor. As he rolled in front of Sabrina, he heard a gasp from somewhere in the room. That gasp turned into a loud scream when she saw me standing there. Nathan was sprawled out on the floor, and I put my foot on his neck, all 200 pounds bearing down on him. I told him not to move. Then I signaled to Susan to go over to Sabrina and give her the divorce papers with a serious look. Susan handed them over, and that was that. I showed Sabrina some papers that made her look shocked. Then, I took off my wedding ring and pointed it at her as a sign that it was over. Sabrina looked surprised and guilty when she saw how upset I was, and she finally understood what she had done. She begged me, saying she regretted it and wanted to fix things between us. But it was too little, too late. Stephen, I'm sorry. I messed up big time and I don't want to lose you, even though. Hey babe, I love you and I don't want a divorce. Can I come home and talk things out? I'll make things right, I promise. Please don't do this. I couldn't believe what I was seeing as I looked at her, feeling so disappointed. It hit me then how old and worn out she looked. Seeing her betray me killed any love I had left for her. The love I had for her for years turned into disgust and hatred. And with that, our marriage is officially over. I caught Nathan cheating and kicked his ass. I told Susan to give us some privacy with the cheaters. When she left, I turned to my wife and let her have it. You broke my heart and ruined our 20-year relationship by lying, betraying, and cheating on me with that scumbag. Because of you, it's over between us. Just sign the damn divorce papers and don't even bother coming back home until Saturday afternoon. I'll need a day to pack my stuff. You can stay in our apartment until it sells, which I don't think will take long. In the meantime, why don't you move in with that chick I caught you with? I took off my shoe from his throat, slammed it on his junk, and walked out of the room and out of my wife's life for good. There was a sound of agony like a man in pain. Applejack Nathan ain't gonna be able to have kids anymore after that. He was pinned to the floor and couldn't do a damn thing. I threatened Sabrina that if she didn't testify in his favor, I would spill the beans about her affair to her family and show them the evidence. She got the message loud and clear and decided not to help, telling the cops she didn't know who hurt him. Nathan, who was mad and hurt by the woman he left me for, was pissed off and couldn't make amends after trying for 2 months. Sabrina finally gave in and signed the divorce papers. Finally admitting that our marriage was totally screwed up and realizing the damage was done for good, she finally got the guts to tell our son the truth. She owned up to her part in the downfall of our once happy years together. We sold our flat, split our stuff, and went our separate ways. Nathan, feeling hurt and wounded, pulled away from Sabrina, who was now single. He turned down her attempts to reconcile, telling her to move on and find someone else. At 46, divorced, and a few pounds heavier, she was left feeling lost. Man, she ain't as hot as she thought, especially after finding out Nathan was lying. Meanwhile, I was all about bettering myself, working out like crazy and losing weight. 6 months later, I was looking great and ran into Tina, a sweet 37-year-old divorced mom with a cute 9-year-old daughter named Emily. Tina really liked how loyal and loving I was, treating me like a king. Emily and I hit it off and I loved spoiling her at Harold's. So, Sabrina, who just graduated, is now 50 and looking old. She seemed all alone and unhappy with how her life turned out. When Harold told me about how she envied and felt sad seeing me happy with my new family, I couldn't help but feel a bit sorry for her. I was just enjoying the happiness of being with my lovely wife and daughter. Sabrina opened up to her son, admitting she felt guilty for how she treated me badly. She couldn't forgive herself for falling for that awful man's charm. She told Harold that losing my love made her finally understand what she had lost and how much she missed our old life together. She realized that her selfish desires had hurt everyone involved. On the other hand, my life improved after the divorce. Tina, who had been cheated on by her ex-husband, promised never to hurt me or our marriage like that. We stayed devoted and faithful to each other after that. Man, it's been 3 years since we've been cherishing Emily and Harold's 3 grandkids. Nathan vanished from our lives after getting hurt, and Sabrina decided not to remarry. She spent the next 20 years as a lonely woman, feeling guilty for betraying me and ruining our happy life. Harold found happiness with a great woman, expanding our family and giving us another grandchild. He really bonded with my new family, while Sabrina kind of faded into the background, only showing up at Harold's events. At the end of the day, I just want to say thanks for coming out to her funeral. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the story today. If you liked what you heard, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you've got a story of your own or someone else's you want to share, don't be shy, reach out to me. Take care.